Hypothetical traveling to the nearest planet we can detect versus the nearest planet that would be habitable, maybe. Proxima Centauri b, 4 light years away. That's 23 trillion miles, or 68,000 year-long trip one way, and is the closest, and it has a surface temperature that borders on the negative 40 Celsius and negative 40 Fahrenheit temperature range that you can look up on the internet pretty easily. That's the closest. The one that's 17 degrees Fahrenheit, or negative 8 Celsius, which is at that point very doable, and in both cases, both planets could have a ready-made atmosphere and just need some work. But again, one's colder. This one is 18,000 light years away, or 10 quadrillion miles, or a 3 million year long trip one way. And that's the best, closest planet. At just under 6 trillion miles per light year distance, ignoring these numbers and coming up with a fantasy universe answer for some of you who are Star Trek fans, all the way to people who are believers in Space Force for some reason and refuse to look up things, we're going to put things in perspective. What is the fastest man-made object that we've been able to throw into space on record currently? Because it dove towards the sun, like Icarus. Okay, that works out to nearly 500,000 miles per hour, or around 1/1700th of the speed of light, or almost 180 kilometers per second. That's the Parker Solar Probe. That's the fastest man-made object we know of. It's better in speed, but not necessarily in efficiency, but definitely on timing than even the Voyager probes at this point. Yeah, but, and then someone will talk about red Mercury and fantasy shit. I don't want to hear it. Let's move on. What's the fastest naturally occurring object? In reality, a naturally occurring object obviously could go faster than this, but we're talking about macroscopic things like comets and hunks of stone, asteroids. Solar system originating asteroid speeds, which means we can regularly check their speed, and consider that kind of an average things to work with, range from around 10 kilometers each second to around 70 kilometers a second. That's 24,000 miles per hour, which is also the reentry speed or orbital speed for things like the space shuttle at one point or another, all the way up to 160,000 miles per hour. However, at 100 kilometers per second, or almost 250,000 miles per hour, asteroid 2021 PH27 at some points travels much faster. These are still, if we use that as our high speed there, let's talk about comets. Well, they run from 70 kilometers per second, or 155,000 miles per hour for a specific one, up to 600 kilometers per second, or 1.34 million miles per hour. These are sun grazers that usually impact. Us doing a similar thing with that probe got us halfway to that speed. Right? A lot less than that. But that's pretty damn fast. I'm using that as the basis because that would involve the only way I can come up with to get up to a speed that would rival nature. Again, we're not invoking 1/4 the speed of light. We're not talking about putting people into suspended animation. Any of those other things where we start talking about it, but ignore the following real facts. You're writing a check that your great-grandchildren have to cash, and that's if they can do it in that few of generations. Let me explain this. A, Star Trek universe shit that you believe in happening, but at low speed here. Okay, so we're talking minimum period of time of 70,000 years. Human beings have had civilization or vague approximations of it, or at least farming and villages, for around 10,000 years or so. Works out that it's about 12,000 years of human beings doing stuff. Okay, you would have to have nearly 70,000 years of stability in a metal box flying through space to get to the nearest star that has a planet of any kind on it. It's in the habitable zone. We'll just take it. It's 4 light years away. 4 stinking light years away. You'd have to maintain something that has never been maintained on Earth with humans. And you'd be writing a check today that would be cashed by a group of people that didn't agree to this. Do you really believe this wouldn't be a totalitarian environment? Do you believe that you would have freedoms? To do what? Live and die in a giant metal can, maybe the size of Manhattan, flying through space. It'd be like Soylent Green. You'd have to reprocess people for fertilizer. You wouldn't have any light or heat. You'd have to generate it the entire time. This is not, it's a such and such level civilization problem. No, we're talking about it now. Almost 7,000 years going through space, not having a revolt, not having people find desperately a way to go back to the only known habitable planet, which they just left because great-granddad made a decision for them. By the way, the people making that decision would have to leave as being very young people in space, and the thing would have to be big so it could rotate to create something vaguely like gravity. Human beings have adapted and evolved on this planet, depending on which one you want to say, keep your politics to yourself, for at least millennia, depending on what belief system you have, and honestly, a lot longer than that. We have recorded history or confirmable history of over 10,000 years. Around 10,000 years of stuff, and over 100,000, honestly, if you look at everything human-like. We've adapted to being at 1 psi, at 1 G, the entire time, just about. Within a temperature range that goes from 100 degrees uncomfortable, very similar to our own body temperature, all the way down to negative 20, negative 30, negative 40. And in that entire time, for the entire duration of humanity, would be the time it would take to get to, let's say, the second best star. Or one that would be discovered on the way there. Meanwhile, they know damn good and well going back would take them to a planet where they didn't have to reprocess the dead, reprocess their sewage to grow food, and worry about the outbreak of the next evolving virus. Remember, it only took 100 years for us to find out a new one. So yeah, no space aliens are going to do this. No Deus Ex Machina here. None of the get out of reality complaints here. Okay. Not outside the solar system. Not. The only way this would happen is if an entire population of the planet saw it about to be destroyed, pulled up stakes, and left en masse, and basically it would be like a very small planet coming towards our solar system or towards one of these planets. And it would take thousands of years. I can't think of anything more depressing and desperate. And I guarantee you, I don't have any qualms about saying this. This would not work. It would collapse. And I don't believe anything that would eventually arrive at the location would resemble what left. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.